Coming to the Ent Center for the Arts, January 20th and 21st, Music of the Spheres, the Chamber Orchestra of the Springs, also with the Colorado Vocal Arts Ensemble and the Colorado Springs Chorale. I have Deborah Teske of the Colorado Vocal Arts Ensemble, Peter Tuff of the Colorado Springs Chorale, also Mark Arnest, pianist, composer, musicologist. Hello, everyone. Good morning.
Good morning, Keith.
Good
also,
morning.
you have Deborah with her chorale hat on. She's the artistic director of the chorale.
Oh, okay. See, I lose track of all the things that you do. And you
She
do.
does too.
And
I do too, yes.
It's crazy.
Two hats today.
okay, so
Easy day for you.
Right.
exciting because great music, all of you performing together, and it's going to be at the Ent Center for the Arts. Where do we start?
Let's talk about the music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
George Frederick Handel, Dixit Dominus?
Dixit Dominus.
Dixit
yes.
Dominus for chorus and orchestra, and you'll be conducting the vocal arts ensemble in this.
Yes, and a string-only subset of
Okay.
the chamber orchestra. It's a wonderful, exuberant, brilliant piece that Handel wrote when he was 21.
21.
He had gone to Italy and was, being influenced by all things Italian, and he wrote this piece that is too fast and too high much of the time, but
People were smaller then.
Yes. It's so much fun to sing and to work on, so we're excited about that one.
Too fast and too high.
Yeah. Most of the vocal arts ensemble is pretty comfortable with Baroque.
Okay.
With the quick-moving, long strings of notes on single syllables, the melismatic writing, and they love it. They're having a great time.
So it's a bit of a workout.
Yes,
Kind of a challenge.
indeed it is.
So this is going to start off the concert.
Uh-huh. It's
All
the
right.
opener.
Next, Vaughan Williams' Serenade to Music. Thomas Wilson will be conducting this one.
Yes, also with the vocal arts ensemble.
And Ode to Joy
Yeah.
from the Symphony No. 9.
Right. With all the forces, 125
Everyone all
voices
together.
or so.
And this also featuring soprano Amy Maples, mezzo-soprano Valerie Nicolosi, tenor Jason Baldwin, and you, Peter, also the
Moi.
Colorado Springs Chorale. So these are some great performers here. So, Peter, you're going to have some great company.
I am indeed. I'm thrilled to be the baritone soloist on the Beethoven. And my colleagues, my fellow soloists, they're fantastic. We have Amy Maples, who is the soprano soloist. I just did Messiah with her at First United Methodist, and I think she's somewhere around 7 to 8 months pregnant. And
Okay.
she looks gorgeous, and she sounds fantastic.
I wonder if that changes her singing.
If anything,
voice.
I don't know. I can only imagine that it's enhanced it somehow based on her Messiah performance, which was incredible. And I know this will be fantastic. And Valerie in the mezzo role, and she's fantastic. And folks know her gorgeous voice and impressive presence. And Jason Baldwin, I haven't sung with him in years, and he's got a powerful tenor voice. I can't wait to see him after quite a while.
I'd like to mention these two performances, Saturday, January 20th at 7 p.m. and Sunday, January 21st at 2:30 p.m. and at the brand new Ent Center for the Arts at UCCS up in North Nevada. Let's talk a bit more about the music, and Mark Arnest, that's where you come in. You are a dictionary of musical knowledge.
Often erroneous, but you do what you can.
The facts
When in
are a
doubt,
reasonable
say
facsimile.
something. That's it.
Now, you're
Well,
talking-
the Handel,
at 21 years old.
21 years
Wow.
old, this is a time when there's really still a big difference between regions in music. And Handel is German, of course, and he's mastered everything the Germans have to say, which is counterpoint and learned stuff. But he's really interested in what the Italians are doing, which is this lighter and brighter and actually a lot more dramatic contrast than he's used to. And so he goes to Italy to see what they're doing. And ironically, what he really wants to study is opera. And he ends up in Rome, where they have not had an opera produced in 30 years due to a papal edict. So instead he does... He does in fact write his first opera in Italy, and he writes his first oratorio in Italy, and he writes this fantastic piece, which he thought so highly of that he repurposed several movements of it in later pieces, as Handel was in the habit of doing.
Well, a lot of Baroque artists did that. And
Oh, yeah, it was
classical
really
era
common.
artists
I mean,
just kind of repurposing things.
First off, there were no copyright laws at all, so people did just steal things. But mostly, Handel did borrow from other composers, but mostly he recycled his own music. He would find something. And one of Handel's geniuses, Mozart said this, that nobody ever strikes to greater effect with simpler means. And one of Handel's great dramatic
Was that a
abilities.
backhanded compliment?
I don't think so.
No.
I think
All right,
it's
go on.
completely honest. But yeah, when knowing Mozart, it could be. I don't know Mozart. Because he's learned and he has to show off how smart he is now and then, he loves these little contrapuntal sections where the voices are imitating each other or almost imitating each other. But he also knew how much counterpoint an audience can stand. And at the end of these, there will always be something wonderful and chordal and harmonic. The very first movement of this, you see just the first three phrases are all treated in different ways. You first start with the choir all singing together, everything at the same time, same place. Then you have this imitative section, and then you have a section, what we call chorale prelude, where some of the choir is singing long notes and the rest of the choir is singing little short notes sort of scurrying in the background. So he has a great instinctive sense of texture and drama.
Ralph Vaughan Williams, Serenade to Music. Someone I spoke to recently called him the greatest English composer of all time. What do you think?
Certainly of his time. That's because Elgar had died a few years earlier. But yeah, certainly very, very high on any list. He's.
But what is the? And that's kind of a relative term.
Yeah, exactly. Well, these are all subjective.
Well, depends on
things.
what you like.
It depends what you like. Exactly. John Doland was pretty great. I mean, there's a lot of great English composers. William Byrd, especially if you go back in time. And then there's this huge 2-century hiatus where the English are importing their best composers. Between Purcell and Elgar, all the great English composers are German. So that's just, nobody knows why that is. Vaughan Williams wrote this piece in honor of Henry Wood, who was terribly influential conductor. And to honor him, first of all, he wrote this piece, but then he thought it would be really cool to write the voice parts for particular English singers that Wood had worked with. And so in the score, there are little initials for each of the singers, 16 in all, and it was premiered as this work with 16 soloists. And then Vaughan Williams quickly realized that that's a stupid way to write a piece, and he rewrote it for normal number of soloists and chorus. And that's the version we usually hear. But he also thought highly enough of it just as a piece of music to do a version for violin and orchestra.
This, talking about beautiful music, is the Ode to Joy from the Symphony No. 9.
This was the first symphony to have voices in it. And I think this is important to understand just conceptually that Beethoven really loved this poem. And he could have set this poem in a lot of ways, and a lot of other people had said it. Schubert said it as a song, voice and piano. Beethoven could have said it as chorus and orchestra piece, a little incidental piece. But Beethoven chose to put it in a symphony, in the biggest, most public venue that he could have found. So he really, it was an act of enormous artistic courage to say, I'm going to throw something in a symphony that nobody has ever done before. And it's because this poem, in which the power of joy stands even above good and evil in Schiller's poem. It's like joy runs the universe to him. It's an extraordinary poem.
Last night we had an exciting rehearsal with the chorale and the vocal arts ensemble combined, and I was impressed with something that Deborah said, that this piece is not about, help me out, Deborah, it's about working towards
it's not about
finding
the
joy.
Easy attainment of joy. It's not something that gets handed to you. It's a struggle. You have to engage in the struggle to find the joy.
Which is how the movement starts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, out of the
Absolutely.
chaos. Yeah.
Beethoven was completely deaf by this time?
He was deaf by this time, yes. And it's actually, when you look at the late pieces, one of the most extraordinary things in them. Beethoven is inventing all kinds of sonorities that nobody has ever heard. You listen to the late piano sonatas, he's treating the piano in a way that nobody had ever done. In this symphony, there's a piccolo and a contrabassoon, which are both really rare instruments at that time, and they extend the orchestra both up and down. So he just wants the biggest sound, the vastest canvas that he can make.
Picking out these three pieces of music, what was the criteria?
That was a really fun conversation, really.
As they did you draw from a hat? Or?
Between Thomas
Yeah.
and me. And one of my favorite things about collaborating with Thomas Wilson is that that's the way he likes to do it. He likes to have conversations about what pieces would be fun to put together, and he's always got a starting place in his head, and then he'll say, well, what else could we do? And so we threw around some ideas, and the Handel seemed to fit in well from my perspective for a piece that really is just at its core. So it's a warlike text, but it's set with such exuberance and joy in the music itself that it seemed to go well. And then the Vaughan Williams kind of makes a symphonic middle movement. In the concert, it's much more meditative, mellow piece, an homage to music itself in the text. Yeah, so that's how we evolved that particular grouping.
Right. Website, information, chamberorchestrathesprings.org, also Facebook, Twitter, and the Chamber has a YouTube channel. Music of the Spheres, Chamber Orchestra of the Springs, their first performance at the Ent Center for the Arts, Saturday, January 20th at 7 p.m., also Sunday, January 21st at 2:30 p.m. One more thing, Music of the Spheres. Where did that come
Deborah?
from? Deborah.
It's an ancient philosophical concept, really. Universal music, musica universalis, doesn't really have anything to do with audible tones and tunes. It's about the harmonic, the resonance of the movement of celestial bodies, so sun, moon, and stars, and the proportion and the resonance is the best word that results in the universe itself and is reflected in all things.
Mark Arnest, Peter Tuff, Deborah Teske, thank you all.
Thank you.
Thanks, Keith.
Yeah.